Ladies and gentlemen, The Shy has officially concluded. Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel Reviewed, where we talk about all things television and film from today and yesteryear. So I wanted to come on here and do a brief recap of the series finale of The Shy. The episode begins with both Tiff and Keisha feeling some type of way of what transpired between the two of them. The opening scene, Tiff is in the bed and she wakes up and, they flash forward over to Keisha, who is staring out the window. As you can see, she's crying and she is just, I guess, going over everything that she has learned in the past 48 hours about the whole situation with Tiff, Nuck, and Rob. Emmett wakes up and, he's talking to Keisha, just trying to see where she is in her headspace. And she lets him know that you know, she doesn't want to have anything to do with Tiff, that they need to kind of sever ties with her. And of course, Emma was like, that's impossible because she's the mother of my child. There's no way we will be able to just avoid her. Like, she's going to always be in our life. She's family, regardless. And Keisha, of course, she's like, well, whose side are you on? And he's like, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm just, being trying to be reasonable. Like, it's really nothing that I'm going to be able to do because Tiff and I have a child together. And, Keisha, she does let Emmett know that she does not want her wedding at Tiff's home. And Emmett was like, well, we getting ready to get married, in 24 hours. What are we going to do? And she was like, we can have that wedding here at our house. And of course, Emmett is like, no, we don't have enough space for all those people. And he has an aha moment and he lets Keisha know that he has a great idea for a location from the wedding. And he asks Keisha if she trusts him, because Keisha was like, I don't need any more surprises at this point. And he was like, if you trust me, just know that I got you.
I'm just trying to do what's best for us. And whether we like it or not, she always gonna be our family.
I can't have my wedding at her house.
We get married in less than 24 hours. We need a location.
Let's just have it here.
You can't fit all those people in here. I know we can do it.
Where?
Let me surprise you.
I can't take no more surprises.
Do you trust me?
Emmett swings by to go see Vic and Shad, okay? And Shad is packing up boxes, honey. He's getting ready to go live in his forever home, like he said. And Emmett was like, yeah, and I'm about to marry my forever wife, Keisha. So, they bigging each other up. Shad, he's grateful. He says he's so glad that Donnell, gave him that house. He's really excited about it. So the guys, they have a brief conversation that ends with Emmett asking them to be the best men in his wedding. And so I'm like, is this kind of last minute? Because, sir, when you was trying on your tuxedos last week, the only people that was in the tuxedo shop was you and your daddy. Like, okay, but nonetheless, Shad and Vic are very honored to, be in Emmett's wedding as his best man. So Keisha's at home, honey, and there's a knock on the door, and guess who's on the other end? Tiff. Okay. And, Keisha, she just basically tells Tiff, she said, I cannot believe that you took someone's life. And Tiff was like, I had to do what I had to do. And of course, Keisha, she's harping on the fact that, but you took Ronnie's father from him. And, Tiff was like, well, that's something him and Rob Jr. will have in common. Like, girl, this is what it is. And the two ends up coming to some type of common ground. You know, Keisha, she says that, she does not know if she will be able to forgive Tiff, but she will for the sake of their children. And she was like, it's just going to take a little time. Um, Again, when Keisha confronted Tiff about the whole situation, when she got the information, like I said, it was not much of a confrontation. And again, for me, I just felt like Keisha was just really, really hurt because of you know, the long road that they had to get to the place that the two of them were. But nonetheless, we do get to see them make somewhat of amends.
I'm sorry he did that to you. too. I don't know if I could forgive you. But I will. For our children's sake. Thank you.
So Emmett's aha moment and his grand gesture of where to have their wedding is, of course, Darnell and Jada's home. He shares with his dad that, he was like, Dad, Mom finally came to see me in my dreams. And he said she looked so beautiful, and she was here in the backyard in this beautiful white garden. So, Darnell, you could tell he's a little somber about the whole thing, but at the same time, he's glad that Emmett got to see his mom again, and that the revelation from that dream turned out to be what he needed, because they can no longer have the wedding at Tiff's, and now they're going to have the wedding there at the house. So the wedding day is finally here, and Keisha, she's getting ready to marry her best friend, as she says. And let me tell you something. I felt the way when I saw Riley, aka Minnie the Moocher, being the one to help Keisha get ready for her wedding. I was like, y'all got to be playing in our faces if y'all not about to have Keisha's mom and Kevin show up. Like, why is Minnie the Moocher helping Keisha get ready for her wedding? Nonetheless, they start having a conversation. Keisha is so excited. And, Minnie the Moocher, she says she's excited for her too. And Keisha was like, I thought this day would make you feel a little sad, remind you of, what you had with your husband. And she says to Keisha, she was like, it makes me happy because I can think about the good times. So, Keisha is cheesing, honey. And then in walks her mom.
Surprise!
Mom. You came back.
I wouldn't miss this one.
You missed the birth of my second child.
I'll probably be apologizing for that one for the rest of my life.
You were here for the first, so I forgive you.
Listen, when I tell you I was so happy when her mom knocked on that door, I was like, okay, y'all better do it right, because there is no way that this woman would miss Keisha's wedding when we know the type of relationship she had with her daughter. Like, everything that they've been through, I was like, there was no way that she was not going to be at Keisha and Emmett's wedding. So we get this cute father-son moment between Emmett and Devontae. Emmett gives Devontae the rings. He's the ring bearer. And Devontae, he's a little nervous. He even says to Emmett, he was like, what if I lose him? And Emmett reassures him that he won't.
Yo, man, we close.
I know. I'm looking for somebody.
Who?
Bakari.
What you want with him?
You got some unfinished business.
I don't know where he at.
So, honey, while that Negordian pulling up in smoke is looking for Bakari, everybody is arriving for the wedding. And we get to see Papa and Kenya have a moment. Kenya asks Papa, does he want a glass of champagne? And he tells her that he stopped drinking. And she was like, what brought this on? He was like, I'm just, realizing that my vices basically are not beneficial to him. So, honey, he has been delivered, okay? He has been delivered from the pills, I'm assuming, the weed, and now alcohol. And he does tell Kenya that, he is just going to be a different papa. I guess try to go back to being himself. He doesn't say that specifically, but he does tell her that he's changing the way that he is, and he also says to her that he's glad that she came back to Chicago. And she said, well, if you give me a reason to, I'll never leave again. So it just seems as if these two are probably going to end up being together, because we do see later on in the episode where Papa mentions that he sees himself proposing to her one day. So Pastor Charles, aka Pulpit Pimp Jr., is in the house, honey. Okay, he's the one who's going to be officiating the wedding. He's there with his girlfriend, and they're talking to her sister, who is the manager of Smokies, and the girlfriend says that she don't know if she want to get married. Marriage is such a big step, and she don't know if that's something that she would want to do. Then the conversation goes to her sister, the manager of Smokies, and she talks about the type of person that she is looking for. She said she wants her woman to be tall with a big personality, honey. And she definitely ends up meeting that person at the wedding. So Emmett is waiting at the altar for his bride, and we get to see these flashback moments of him and Keisha's relationship when Keisha was under the bed and Jada was like, "What's your name, little girl? Like, come on from up under my son's bed." Just just the different stages of their relationship and how they come to be where they are in this moment, and that is them about to become husband and wife. So the bridesmaids walk down the aisle, and of course, Tiff is the last one on the scene, which was no surprise to me. I kind of figured that the two of them would have to compromise, okay? As in, eye for an eye. Like, look, I know Keisha didn't have nothing to do with what Nuck did to Rob, but, Tiff did what she had to do. So, again, we get to see that the two of them have come to some type of resolve, enough resolve for Tiff to be in the wedding. This by far was my favorite moment of the wedding. And let's be clear, Emmett and Keisha's wedding was off the chain. Okay, they had a beautiful wedding. Everybody was there. The woman who used to mess with Duda, she was there. Her mom's ex-girlfriend was there. The brat was there. The mama new girlfriend. It was just a whole vibe. But when Kevin walked out to walk his sister down the aisle, I knew he was going to be the one, because I was like, who is going to walk Keisha down the aisle? I was like, okay, we already seen the mama. I know her brother got to show up, and show up indeed is what he did. And when he walked her to the end of the aisle and he lifted her veil over her face and told her how beautiful she was, and they gave each other a hug, I was so happy. That was like my favorite moment of the whole thing. And of course, Kevin bought the missus, honey. I was like, oh yes, him and his girlfriend still going strong. So Emmett and Keisha exchanged vows, and it was lovely. Sidebar, am I the only person who noticed that Keisha's nails were different? When she was getting dressed for her wedding, she had the polka dots on her tips. And then when she went out and, we see her put the ring on Emmett's finger, they were completely different. I just be noticing stuff like that. Like, I literally, when she was getting ready and she was holding the compact, I was like, ooh, why she got polka dots on her nails? And then you could see them when she put her shoes on and when she put the little garter thing around her thigh. I was like, why she got these polka dots on her nails? And sure enough, honey, when she got out there and put that ring on Emmett's finger, they were completely different. I did notice that. Okay.
The power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride.
Tiff tells Emmett congratulations. They have a little brief talk, and she was like, don't mess this one up. And he was like, oh, I'm not. And he apologizes to her. And I guess he was kind of apologizing for, what happened with their relationship and their marriage. And, he says to Tiff that he didn't realize that, she just had so much on her plate that she was dealing with, and the things that she had to deal with and go through on her own. I thought it was really sweet of him to, say that to her. But, we already know that the two of them are seemingly in a good place. So Vic and Shad give a best men speech, okay? And, Vic, he says that Emmett has been known to be a ladies' man. And Shad was like, yeah, but he has changed his ways. He is a one-woman man now, And, Vic also says that it has been a pleasure, knowing Emmett and getting to see him develop from a boy to a man. And he was like, you did that because you wanted to, not necessarily because you had to. And that's his, just basically giving his brother love on this day. And what I liked about this moment, it just brought me back to when they would have those men groups, that men circle, and how they would just be very open and vulnerable with one another. I just thought it was very thoughtful for Vic to be open in that way in front of all these people.
And that's the thing about love. It changes you. We watched you grow from a boy to a man. Not because you had to, but because you wanted to.
Yeah, if love was that easy, everybody do it, you know? No wonder some of y'all still single out there.
Easy. Easy.
And let's be clear, honey, Keisha got her flowers too. Shad, he was very open and vulnerable with, his words that he had for Keisha, and just saying that he appreciates her being the person that she is and being the type of woman who shows love to men like him, and, just being that place of home for Emmett. Like, I think out of everything at the wedding, this moment here for me was very emotional. I felt a little verklempt. I did not cry though, but it just, it fill you up with just emotions, because I just really always loved that this show highlighted, being able to talk to your peers, with the men group and then the women's circle. So, Shad, he even got emotional in the moment when he was giving Keisha her flowers, and I just really thought it was really cool.
You represent all of the women who have ever loved us. And you remind us that we're all worthy of being loved. You're a queen. And we honor you. And we thank you for always holding your head up high. And for showing our boy Emmett where home is.
Bakari tells Jake and Papa that he's moving to Atlanta. He's like, me and Lene moving to Atlanta with my sister. It is what it is. And Jake is like, what you going to Atlanta for? He was like, I don't know, but I'll know when I get there. And Jake, we got to see in the episode that Jake and his new girlfriend, honey, they're gonna be moving in together. And so, the girl, when Jake mentioned it, mentioned that it would be cool if she moved in with him. She was like, are you gonna be faithful? He was like, I promise I'm gonna be the best that I can be. You know what I'm saying? But in this moment, when he, says to Bakari, ain't nothing in Atlanta but some fine women, Papa was like, see, you already started, you already not acting right or whatever. But, I'm glad that, they are supportive of their boy being in Atlanta. He was like, y'all can always come see me and I can always come see y'all. Again, the wedding was lit, honey. Everybody was there. The photos were photoing, okay? Everybody was having a good old time. And of course, it would not be a Black wedding without a line dance. And yes, the cha-cha slide served its purpose. Now, I was waiting for them to play the song Wobble. However, cha-cha did its thing. Like I said, everybody was at the wedding. We even got to see in the episode, Kyla Pratt's character, her husband came back on the scene. He said he wanted to be there for Emmett and Keisha's wedding, and they also had a conversation about the fact that she has moved on. She said she didn't want to be alone forever. And her husband's like, yeah, I get it. I understand. Nonetheless, the two of them ended up going to Keisha and Emmett's wedding together. Now that the wedding is over, everybody is getting back to regular day life, okay? And we see Vic and Jake go visit Reggie in the prison. And I have to say, I was very surprised at how he was just different, okay? That whole hardcore exterior was out the door. And they had a very emotional moment with one another. Vic says to him, we're not going to let you sit in here forever. And Reg was like, don't worry about me. I'll be all right. They know not to, mess with me in here. And even when he said that, he did not say it in an egregious way. You know what I'm saying? He was just very melancholy. And we even got to see him cry. And in this moment, I think the show was playing the song Blackberry Molasses or whatever. But Vic, I think he feels a bit of guilt that his brother is doing at time for something he absolutely did not do. Because even when Reg was like, I love you, and Jake was like, I love y'all too, it was hard for Vic to even get those words out, which surprised me because we know Vic has never been a person to shy away from his emotions and how he feel. He's always been very verbal about, everything. So just to see the three of them have that moment and those emotions to get to that level where we see Reggie cry, I was like, okay, that's what's up. So Keisha goes to her home that she grew up in. Lene and Bakari are moving out, and we get a flashback moment of everything that happened in that house. And, when Keisha had her baby in the house, you know, just everything that she experienced in that home. Remember when Keisha was kidnapped and, her mom and Kevin were just basically losing their mind looking for her, just everything that she experienced in that home we got to see in a flashback. Well, not everything, but majority of everything, all the important things, we got to see a flashback in that house. And so, while she is reminiscing on everything, honey, a black truck pulls up outside and our boy Bakari gets popped. I'm gonna tell you, this is the second time of the episode I wanted to turn it off. Okay, the first time was when Riley, aka Minnie the Moocher, was helping Keisha get ready for the wedding, and I felt away until her mama walked in. Then when this happened, when I saw that black truck pull up, my stomach dropped. I was like, I already knew that the dude, when he went to look for Bakari at Smokey's, I already knew something was up. And when I saw him and Lene putting those boxes in the back of that truck, I was like, okay, somebody about to pull up, and sure enough, he did. The dude pulled up, pulled his mask off, and just started firing. And of course, Bakari was man down. Okay. So after we see Bakari land on the hard concrete, it flash forwards to a year later. And we get to see Tiff here with her mom and her boys. Now, at Keisha and Emmett's wedding, Tiff's mom, she says to her, she said, it's going to be a little lonely living in that big old house by yourself. And Tiff was like, I've been thinking about that. She said, I was thinking that you and my son can come home so we can all live, under one roof as a family. And her mom said, now, we ain't going to get along all the time. And Tiff was like, yeah, but, she just want all of them together. And this is the end result. So in this moment, there are some guys coming in the house. They're taking down Alicia's photo, with Rob and Rob's dad. And we get to see this new family photo of Tiff, her sons, and her mom. We get to see Shad, in his backyard grilling, talking to his stepson. And then the camera pans over to Patience. And I promise you, in this moment, I was hoping that Patience was going to move them flowers and we was going to see Patience pregnant. Like, I was like, y'all, come on now. Y'all could have gave my boy Shad a baby. I'm just saying. And we get to see Vic. He's back with Fatima. And we also get to see the manager of Smokey's Honey. She got her little girlfriend or whatever. So it just seems like everybody is getting their happy ending. Speaking of happy endings, honey, so throughout this part of the show where we get to see where everyone is a year later, um, someone is narrating. We hear, this book being read. And we also get a flash of Reggie. He's, in his cell and he's reading Bakari's book. And then we get this moment here where we see Bakari's sister, she's walking with a bunch of books and it's a line outside. And we see Lene first, and then we see that Bakari made it. I don't know where he was popped at, but baby, when I tell you, I just knew he was gone on a permanent vacation with the Lord. I did indeed think that. But nonetheless, Bakari survived. I was so happy to see that. And we also get to see that he and Lene are expecting a little baby. Emmett and Keisha, we get to see that they have Smokies in Houston, Vegas, and Atlanta. I think that the sign says so. They have definitely franchised the restaurant. And as you can see, everyone is happy and together. And Riley, aka Minnie the Moocher, is still on the scene. And in the back of the Smoky store, we get this beautiful picture of Jada. And I have to say, I'm so glad that we got to see her this season because Jada, she started with the show, just like Emmett, just like Keisha. Like, it really bothered me when they got rid of Jada Um, I was very happy with how the episode ended. I still wish that we got resolved when it came to Rosalind, because I don't like the fact that she was able to, do what she did to Alicia, and we don't see any justice for it. However, I'm glad that Shad did not take it upon himself to seek her out, because, the end result with him, he probably wouldn't even be here anymore. So I don't like that. I do not like the fact that we still do not know what happened with the pulpit pimp, like Pastor Zeke and Nuck. I do not understand how we did not get an answer for that. It's like Kenya just moved on with her life, like, oh well, my dad gone, it is what it is. Like, I don't like the fact that we did not get to find out what happened between them. And I honestly wish that Kevin had been throughout the whole last season. I just wish that it was some way we could have got a bit of his life in LA and how he was doing with his gaming and everything like that. I really wish that we had got a little bit more for him. Nonetheless, I'm glad that he was the one that got to walk Keisha down the aisle. And I'm glad that they all seemingly get their happily ever after. Well, that's all I have for you guys in this video. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.